All right, good afternoon and welcome back to Amwins Connect Benefix Academy. We're going to focus on our session 201 today, which is the more advanced features of the quoting tool. We're going to review a little bit of what we did yesterday in Benefix 101, but this will just by nature of us working through a sample quote together. And we're going to focus more on the customization and multi-choice proposal functionality that exists inside of the Benefix tool today. So like yesterday, I'm going to visit amwinsconnect.com where I've already logged in, and I'm going to pick a state that I want to quote in currently. Once there, I pick my state. I'll have access to this quoting button in the top right corner. If you haven't logged in, that'll be a sign in button, which will prompt you to sign in or register. Once I'm on the quoting page, I have the ability to click my Benefix tile, which will be available. And that'll launch me into my version of Benefix. All of our home pages look the same, but we do have some unique customization capabilities that impact the output and also some of the user interface beyond the home page. So first, the obvious thing is that we have a custom logo, our agency logo. Here, we can also bring in our colors if desired. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the name of our agency, and that takes us to a edit your information page. Now, we can go further and actually edit the brokerage with logos and colors, but I want to call out a couple of things here. This is your unique profile, and you have three personalization features here. First is the medical plan sort order. We covered this a little bit yesterday, but this impacts how we organize our plans at the end of the proposal. We can rearrange what logic we want our plans to sort in. We can still move them around in the end of the proposal coordination in step 4, but from here, I have my preferences set up to sort by carrier alphabetically and then by premium, lowest to highest. So that's my preference, and that's how I have it structured. Additionally, I can have step 3 where I pick plans, display by default in baseball card view or list view. You can toggle back and forth between those things in step 3, but you can set a preference at this step. Last is approximate member eligibility. This one we are always trying to be mindful with, but this assumes employees in multi-county zip codes are in the in-network zip code when available. So I like it that Benefix points out that I have employees or members in multi-county zip codes and makes me make an election because that helps validate that I'm making the correct decisions when I get my proposal later on, but you can click that if you want to approximate member eligibility. Moving on, this edit brokerage button, as I teased before, shows here. And note also, just quick update here, national producer number, which you can look up using the NIPR link if desired. It's not required at this point for all quoting, but it is required to get United Healthcare, Dental, and Vision. So we're going to have a little banner in the homepage here when you log in if we don't have that information for you or your agency. So not broadly required, specifically required for one bespoke requirement associated with that particular carrier, but it is something that we're starting to collect and make sure we include. So I'm looking at proposal settings and appearance for our agency. So proposal settings allows me to sort the colors that I want to include on my proposal. And I have them set to blue and blue, but I can do a couple things. So when I click on those, I can actually slide this around to pick colors that I think look nice if I was so inclined. I can manually key in the RGB code that's specific to my agency if I want and bring in a color, or I can use this eyedropper to literally grab the colors right off of my web page or another web page if I was so inclined. So easy enough to just use those to grab things that are particularly specific. We'll pick some pinks. Additionally, with appearance, we can swap out our agency logo with just a click. No trickier than anything else we generally do as far as updating a LinkedIn profile or a cover page photo. So we can swap those things out pretty easily. So after updating, it gives me a little confirmation tag, and I can click my Amwins logo in the top left corner, which is our homepage button, which will always bring us back to center here. So we're going to launch a new quote today. So clicking that new quote tile, just like we learned about yesterday, and we'll start a new group. I'm going to be wildly original with the name. Reminder, this is a chance for us to add pay frequency. This is the only location where you can add pay frequency. You can jump back to this step if you're later on in the proposal, but pay frequency is available here and later on. As long as I do a quick confirmation that the broker, the quote name, and the effective date are the ones that I want, and I'm brought to a stage where I get to bring in my census. We spent a lot of time on census import and census, or in Benefix. Amwins Connect Benefix Academy 101. That's a mouthful, isn't it? But here we will bring in a quick census so we can proceed. All right, we've got a census in. We can still delete and add members and modify this appropriately to suit our needs. The first thing we're going to do here that's a little different from yesterday is we're going to stop and add our current plan at this step of the proposal. Yesterday, we added our current plan way over here in step 4, kind of late in the conversation. But if we do have that information now, we can include it now that we're building this group profile. So manage current plans allows me to use this current plan feature to look up what plan I currently have. Blue Shield, and we'll say that's a trio product, and it looks up those search words and brings back a handful that I can pick from. Additionally, it's asking me 2 questions about the current plan. So first, I just answered, what is the current plan? So it's looking at the 2021 product portfolio, and that's the plan I picked. Second, it's asking me, what do I want to call it? What's the shorthand nickname that I would use in my interface or when I'm having shorthand conversations with an employer? I'm not always going to say, do you want to talk about the Blue Shield Trio Silver 70 HMO 22 50 55 plus child dental and infertility fully insured? That's a mouthful. What I'm probably going to say is the Trio plan or Trio HMO or something to that effect. HMO Silver. So we'll give it a shorthand nickname to that effect so that that's what shows up in our interface and on our output. We'll still have the full plan name on all of our documentation, but it just gives us a quick nickname that we can guide ourselves with, and we'll see more of that in a moment. Additionally, I can add another current plan. So if this group has 2 plans currently, maybe they have a PPO and an HMO, which is a moderately common use case. You do have to spell the word shield correctly. That helps. All right. Blue Shield, full PPO, 2225. All right. And we'll call that one the PPO. Lots of use cases here for applying this nickname. You could call them high, medium, low. You could call them in-network, out-of-network, or HMO PPO, or in-state, out-of-state, or executives and staff. And you can add multiple different versions or have lots of current plans, depending on how many the group has in force currently. Now that I've added those current plans, I have an additional column on my census that says which current plan is that member enrolled in. And I'm going to just put 2 of those folks on the PPO and leave 3 of them on the HMO respectively. That is a field you can manipulate on the census itself. So if you do have that information, you can upload that information or you can manipulate it once you're in the interface here. And I'm going to click next to move on to step 3 and picking my plans. So first thing I want to talk about is adding and applying favorite plans to our interface. So if you have plans that you always want to quote, you know that this group is a particular hot seller or shows up really good on a heat map and it's something you should be discussing with every client, you can check this little star or fill in this little star with a click on this step 3 interface. And you can see I have a handful selected and I can unselect respectively. So once they're saved, they are saved to your profile. So from here, without having to do a whole lot of work, I can scroll down to the bottom of my filters, use my universal filters to show my favorite plans, which is now displaying just my favorite plans on the screen. And I can click select all. And it put all 15 of my favorite plans, which were the 15 that we're showing here, onto the proposal. And it selected all of them for me. And with that, I can move on to the next stage of quoting if those are the plans I wanted to pick. I'm going to deselect all. So I'm back to 0 plans selected up here on my sort of 50,000 foot view. I'm going to reset my filters and show all plans again, not just my favorites. So I'm back to kind of where I started when I got here. But it's a quick way, if you have favorite plans, you always want to include those. When we quote the group with multi-option, like this one is, they have some folks on an HMO and some folks on a PPO. We are quoting the group in fractions, or in halves in this case, because there's 2 fractions, which is a half. So we are quoting for those on the HMO trio currently. And if we use this drop down, we can then quote for the other half of the group, the folks that are on the PPO. So these same plans will be priced differently because I'm only seeing that plan available for 4 of the 4 members that are on that part of the group. And when I go to the PPO half of the group, I'm seeing that same list of plans available for the other half of the population, respectively. So you're kind of quoting in pieces. So what plans do I want to compare to their current HMO, and what plans do I want to compare to their current PPO? So just doing that in steps, respectively. And that's all well and good. You can certainly do that, and you can navigate through and finally curate the plan selection that you want to apply to those halves of the group. But we also have a couple other goodies up our sleeves to make that a little easier. So this plan options button is the unsuspecting hero of the tool that we really like. So I'm going to click on plan options here, and that takes us to a portion of step 3 called automatic plan selection. And this is showing us our group just in the slightly different frame. This is showing us that we have a trio HMO Silver with 3 subscribers and a PPO with 2 subscribers, respectively, and what the 2 current plans are that we identified way back here in the census when we brought this group into the tool. When I click automatic plan selection, it gives me an option of what do I want Benefix to try to do for me. So what I'm going to ask Benefix to do is find the renewal plans for me, and also find me comparable plans that are the same network type. So I want people in the HMO to have an HMO and people on a PPO to have a PPO, and have a similar deductible within $400 and a similar premium within 10%, because if it's more than 10%, the employer will throw me out of the room. And then I'm going to replace the plans on screen. There are no plans to replace, so it'll replace nothing with something. In doing that, Benefix is going to go scour its category or plan portfolios and bring back plans that meet the criteria I just asked it for. And here we go. We have 15 plans that meet the criteria compared to this trio HMO Silver, and 22 that compare back to the Blue Shield PPO, respectively. Now, I might not like the ones it picked. Maybe I think that that's too many covered Cal options, or I don't want to talk about that, or I'm realizing there's no Anthem options on here, and maybe I want to include those, but the Anthem plans don't have a plan that's close enough in deductible, therefore was excluded from my search. So I can add some additional products to this or remove some of these if I don't like them. So now that I've picked 15 plans automatically or 22 plans automatically, which sure is handy if you're in a pinch or you just need a basic proposal to shop the market fairly. But now that I have the current, the renewal, and some alternates, I can edit the plans selected and kind of curate a little further. Do I want those 15 or do I want 13 of those 15 and then 3 other of my own? So I'm just going to click that pencil to edit those options and go a little bit further. So a great tip here, once you have those plans automatically selected, is to, again, use these universal filters here on the bottom left and say, show only selected. It's showing me the 15 plans that had been checked off. And this is, I think, a great option or a great time to do the list view or maybe sort by carrier. And I'm thinking about some of the ways I used to think through this information. So how many Cal Choice options do I really need? And maybe I don't want any of those. So I can uncheck those. And I have 4 Kaiser, but I only need 2, and only 2 United. And as stated, I do want to find, let's see those some anthems. Well, I didn't have any anthems picked. So I will show all again. And let's make sure we grab a few anthems that are HMOs or comparable. respectively. And that's a great chance for us to, like, maybe our deductible counter wasn't close enough and we just want to slide things in that are pretty close. So we'll just grab 2 Anthem options that we can add to that layout of plans. And now I'm going to jump over to my PPO half of the group and curate that pick down a little bit as well. Maybe I don't want as many as it provided. So I'm here looking at the PPO half of my group where it had picked out 22 plans for me automatically. I'm going to say show only the selected options, and we'll narrow this down a little bit as well, using some of the same tricks I used earlier. Use the list view or sort by carrier. All right, I need 2 Aetna options. This did grab a few Anthem options for me, and I don't need quite so many. Again, I'm being a little loose around how many options I remove. And I don't see any Kaiser options on this half of the group, and maybe we want to grab a few of those just for the sake of being good with our comparison, since we did have a few on the HMO half, or maybe not. We'll leave them all. And we'll click next to move over to the end stage of our proposal. We can also just click on the step 4 proposals and summaries to jump to the same location. But here I am looking at the plans that we have laid out, our current and renewal options. So here's the 2 current plans. Here's the 2 renewal trio or current trio plans. And you'll notice that the naming convention and nomenclature is specifically the ones that I keyed in. It's the nickname being applied to this structure. So a couple additional things we can do here in step 4 that we didn't cover in 101. First, if we have level funded products, we can manage the tiered rate. So on level funded plans in our markets where those are available, this Benefix will provide illustrative or non-underwritten rates on behalf of some of our carrier partners like United All Savers or Aetna AFA. And then upon receiving an underwritten rate from that carrier, which happens outside of Benefix, you can put that underwritten rate into the tool or modify the rate structure so it displays completely here, and you don't have to add that to a spreadsheet manually later. So nice functionality to have. Additionally, we can add custom product to the tool. Lots of use cases where this can be applied, whether you have a group that has large group currently and you want to add a custom current plan, or if a group has a PEO with tiered rates or a level funded product where we don't house that catalog and we wouldn't know what the rates were because they were underwritten rates from the plan year prior, or simply put, we just have a life insurance product we want to include in our proposal that isn't displayed in the tool. So we're just going to add a test product real quick. And a list of all of the carriers that Amwins Connects works with. And we'll just say that's a test life guardian product with a flat benefit amount of $10,000 per person. And you notice I'm skipping a lot of things. I'm just putting in the required fields, which is what's the product, what's the benefit, who's the carrier, what's the rating factor. And with that minimal information, I can add custom product to my proposal. So it shows up on the same spreadsheet with all of the branding and logos and color sequence that have applied to everything else. So now I have medical and life both available here. Additionally, this gives us a chance to apply ancillary carrier bundling discounts when those are applicable. So I could add custom product and copy an existing life insurance plan like the one I just made. And then I could add the word finalist or bundle rate to this. So if Guardian offers me a underwriting discount based on the volume of business I place with them, or if I sell an additional product line with this, and they say, look, you can sell this as a finalist rate because I really want to win this quarter, and you can sell it at a slightly reduced rate. Here's the rate. We can modify that and show those 2 rates side by side. They say, look, here's the book rate, and here's the finalist underwritten or bundled rate that's available respectively. So you can show those 2 products side by side and have them display on all the outputs as well. So looking at medical, contribution modeling. So again, we have our HMO half and our PPO half of the group. So I'm going to make the HMO half the base plan. So I'm going to have the employer pay 90% of the HMO cost, nothing for spouses and dependents, respectively. And I'll have our PPO plan look backwards at that other plan and say, all right, that trio plan is the base plan. all of the contributions on this other half will be a buy up from that half. You'll note we didn't just put a little check mark next to the base plan. We actually have this plan look backwards to that plan, and that's specifically designed to accommodate multiple base plans within a group. And while that's not a super common use case, it does occur where we have a group that has lots of Blue Shield and lots of Kaiser Permanente, and they have a base plan with Kaiser and a base plan with Blue Shield. And now you can actually account for that without having to run multiple proposals. So it is a specifically designed functionality to do base plan that way to accommodate for different group scenarios, depending on the size, market segment, state, and region of the group, and how those base plan contribution models can be applied. So excited to share that we're set up to do that. So with that, I'm going to run a couple different variations of proposal to show you real quick. While that one's generating, I'm going to click on this scenario editor button as well, which just gives us some slight variation on proposals as well. Since we're running a multi-option proposal, we're going to have additional tabs or additional reports included in all of our outputs by default. You don't have to use them like always, but we do include additional reports that are specific to this sort of multi-option functionality. So I'm going to click on this scenario editor button as well, which brings up the proposal that I have in the tool, and it shows here's our current plan, still in the interface, obviously not generating a proposal yet. Here's the renewal option, and then here's some alternates from Covered Cal, some alternates from Anthem, some alternates from United, respectively. I can remove those if I don't want those to show in that structure as part of a scenario on the proposal. Additionally, I can add a new scenario and even give that a fun little custom name, like Eric's best idea ever, which is what we're going to call this one. Save that, and then we can take all of the plans from our proposal and apply them to this listing, and then actually do some strategy mapping in the interface without having to go out to the proposal, review the options that are available, and restructure. Additionally, not only can I do that, but I can make a copy of any of these to show a different variation. So this Eric's best idea ever and Eric's best idea ever are the same thing, but I'm going to give that a slightly different name. And then without changing the plans, I can just move employees around as well. So now I have 4 people on the HMO and 1 person on the PPO. And while both of these scenarios show the exact 2 same health plans being applied to the group, you'll notice there's a significant premium difference just moving John Doe from the PPO to the HMO. So I can illustrate that without having to run an alternate proposal or manipulate the Excel to show what happens when we move employees back and forth between scenarios, which is nice. Please note the nicknames of these scenarios are Eric's best idea ever. I made it something kind of silly like that because that custom naming convention will apply to the proposal as well. So excited to show you what that looks like. Our essentials proposal, which we just ran, and these take about generally 30 seconds to run for that essentials. As we talked about yesterday, that enhanced proposal is ordering everything off the menu at once, and we just asked for everything. So that does take about a minute to run because it's injecting all of these colors that we included today when we launched into our tool and modified specifically for our agency. So we still have the same side-by-side proposals and spreadsheets that we looked at yesterday, but note that the name of the scenario or the nickname of the plan I think I froze up for a minute there, but we are still recording, so I'm going to press on. Okay, yes, I did. Don't worry, I'm back. I'm not going to let you off the hook that easy. We're just getting to the good stuff. Yeah, a proposal here, same tabs and layouts that we reviewed yesterday in the essentials and the enhanced proposal, but note that the nickname of the plan is shown in the tab name. So these say PPO in the tab and Trio HMO in the tab name, just to make this easy navigation, or if you put this in front of an employer, or as we do sometimes, send this to an employer without disclosing or discussing in greater detail, you can distribute respectively. Our enhanced proposal got jammed up there because there we go. Let's download that enhanced proposal real quick that we were running. That enhanced proposal includes a couple unique multi-option layouts that are particularly helpful when you're dealing with a group that has lots of different plan selections available. So first, you still have your same cover page and employer profile included, of course, along with census, but you also have these multi-option tabs that are included. And most specifically, the multi-option brief is particularly helpful because this not only shows the scenarios with Trio, HMO, Silver, and PPO, again, the unique nicknames we applied to the plans at the beginning of the conversation, but it also builds out the scenarios in the custom scenario name, where we're showing 3 and 2 members enrolled in these HMO and PPO respectively, or 4 and 1 on the Eric's Best Idea Ever for sure scenario. So you can really customize and build this out that way. Additionally, again, you'll note the HMO and PPO nicknames are included on all the tabs. But when we get to our census age banded page, we also see a slight variation. Again, same report we looked at yesterday, but because this group is split into halves effectively, we see the half of the group that is on the Trio HMO here in bold, and the half of the group that is on the PPO in light gray. So this total is only representative of the half that is on the Trio HMO. It also injects that nickname here onto the tab. So it's in the report and on the tab in case you're printing as PDF. When you flip to the PPO version, you see the inverse, where those folks are on the HMO and these folks here in bold are on the PPO. We always include all of the members on these pages, even though we're only calculating for half and bolding that half specifically. The logic being, when you're in front of an employer, the conversation frequently goes something to the effect of, "This is really great. By the way, Guy Jones told me he needed the PPO also. Can you tell me what it costs for him to be on the PPO?" And instead of rerunning the proposal or calling your Amwins rep frantically, which we are always happy to take your call and help assist in scenarios like this, but it gives you the chance to go, "Oh, yes, it's right here above." So we want to make sure you're always empowered with that information to take the back and forth and the unnecessary swirl out of the quoting scenario. With that, that is our review of everything we wanted to cover today. So we talked about colors, logos, preferences, multi-county zip codes, and user interface preferences. We reviewed step 2, adding current plans and adding custom nicknames to those current plans, and then dividing our census accordingly by that. We did picked favorites using that little gold star in step 3. We quoted the group in halves today, but it can be more fractions than halves, respectively. We did automatic plan selection. We talked about applying tiered rates to level funded or self-funded plans when applicable. We did custom plan ads by adding some custom life product to our proposal, which we didn't look at in the outputs. Let's go to the end and make sure we take a peek at that. Apologies. We just got so many outputs that are helpful. Group life, you'll notice the particular group name here, test product and text product finalist, respectively, and the total monthly cost and the variance all displayed there. So you can bring those custom products into the same presentation format and structure, so everything looks succinct and branded to your agency as a representation of you and your firm. We did base plan contribution modeling, where we had the employer pay for one, and then the PPO was the buy up from that other option. And then we took a quick review of the multi-option outputs, including the scenario editor tool. So that, in 30 minutes, is Amwins Connect Benefix Academy Advanced or 201 Advanced Features. Are there any questions I can help with before we depart? All right. Well, Maureen, thank you so much for joining me today. It was a pleasure to chat with you via the chat. If anything does come up, feel free to reach out to not only your Amwins team, but to Samurai on our quote to enroll team here at Amwins Connect. We are always happy to help, especially in Q4 when quoting is hectic. So feel free to give us a ring anytime. Happy to chat. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.